Hello and welcome to the NXT review. I'm Michael Sidgwick, joined by fellow Dudley boy Michael Hamflett to discuss everything that went down on last night's show. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube for daily wrestling podcasts where we preview and review Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. AEW Dynamite, Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have wrestler interviews on occasion, roundtable discussions. We answer your wrestling questions. And we host a roundup of the week complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WhatCulture. Hamflett, it was NXT last night, wasn't it?
It was ace.
It was ace.
And I'm dreading delving deeper into that ace. Because
who knows what you might find.
Yeah. Well, sadly I do, because I've watched it at least one and a half, kind of twice. Once to just watch it this morning. I wasn't going to take notes along with my morning watch of this.
Slop.
Dire state of affairs. Yeah,
Slop.
Yes, slop. And I want to talk about that before we get into the review, because I said to you today, to this day, even as WWE embarks on the slow fall off that is 2025, and it is slow, still signs of life, still fighting for the title and all that, I have always pushed back on good WWE being stupid, brainless slop for idiots. It bothers me. It pisses me off. Like, there's no need for conversation on that level. You can simply say, these storylines work, these don't. This type of storytelling works for me, this type doesn't, and that, without resorting to, like, name-calling because WWE is, like, the market leader, and people see Disneyfication as some sort of, like, lowest common denominator. And that doesn't have to be true.
Whenever I say that I personally feel stupid watching WWE programming, I always take great pains to mention that I've met loads of lovely WWE fans in my lucky privilege of a job. I know WWE fans who I would consider smarter than me in many areas.
Thank you.
You're not one of them. I just personally feel like I'm made to be stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hopefully there's a difference there.
Well, I do sometimes, and we'll acknowledge as such when it happens. But certainly, like, I don't think it's an accusation I would throw, particularly at, like, let's say, the Triple H era, for example. This was mindless slop for idiots in a literal sense. Like, I watched the slop happening, and I watched the mindless idiots lose their mind for the slop.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's always the old friends and family mutant skis that occupy the performance center on invitation-only basis, and you have to take that, like weird people do with their porridge, with a pinch of salt. You ever heard that? People have salt in their porridge.
Do they?
I don't like it.
Some people, and this is more interesting, I think
it already. I don't even know what you're going to say.
Than NXT is rather than use sugar to sweeten up their coffee, which I would never do, just get specialty light roast if you want some fruit and floral flavors in there. Apparently, and I don't understand the chemistry behind this at all, salt in bitter, darker roasted coffee can sweeten it up.
Charlotte Flair said to Alexa Bliss that salt and sugar look alike. There's like some sort of weird threat on SmackDown last week. I'm not doing a bit here.
So we don't do bits, so of course you don't even have to explain that.
Maybe she was thinking about bitter coffee.
Maybe. Cesaro's got some new coffee out. Claudio Castagnoli.
What's it called?
I don't know, but it's in 3 different blends, light, medium, and dark. I only became aware of this because I can't remember who it was. I apologize, but one of my followers on Twitter was like, you should buy it and review it. Well, their blends are like a single origin.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like all the same coffee bean and the same...
Is that a bit because he's like known as having all these different influences and accents? And like...
He's a coffee guy.
Oh, is he just...
He's a massive coffee nerd. But, and I don't necessarily feel good about saying this because I have not sampled the coffee. And maybe it's just a problem with the marketing. But the issue is that he does it in blends. So there's not one sort of traceable farm you can sort of, or producer. Mm-hmm. Which is not necessarily a red flag because, like, some roasters genuinely enjoy the process of mixing and matching and balancing flavor profiles and all the rest of it. A bit like Pepsi Cherry Max for you.
I'm drinking it right now. Out of this mug.
Yeah. There is no...
3 flavors. Pepsi, Max, and Cherry.
I couldn't see any country of origin or anything like that, so I'm thinking, come on, you've got to be a little bit more transparent about this. So I'm...
Death Grinders.
The Death Grinders.
The Black Coffee Combat Club.
Yes.
They're both all right.
They're both very good.
I mean, he could.
Now I need to think of one to feel better about myself.
I mean, I wouldn't choose either of them if you want to successfully market a product.
The Barista.
It's good stuff.
It's all good stuff.
You want one, Nicholas?
Nah, I'm good.
No, I didn't think so.
Yeah,
Well, we've put it off for long enough. We're going to have to talk about NXT.
Yeah.
We start with the usual.
It's not the law. It is our jobs, though. It is our,
let us know. Could we go an hour and not even mention the show? And would you care without Will Borne here? Let us know in the comments below. But we're going to do it anyway because in the car park, people are arriving, and this wouldn't normally matter too much. It's the WWE thing now. We always see it. But Jasper Troy, Dex, Femi, he's looking to get the advantage for the main event, and he drops him on the windshield. Big guys doing big guy stuff to, well, smaller guys. In the case of Jasper Troy and Femi, he's immediately asserting his dominance, and we're going to find out as the show goes on if Femi's good to go for the main event. Anything in this?
Can I just shock you?
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was phase one of some half-decent ideas to build this match, to hook viewers across the show, to make chicken out of chicken salad.
Yeah.
It was a very difficult... You've got a guy who... I know he's the NXT champion, but it is NXT. Still green. Has been WWE champion to our green, but Femi's still green. Still relatively untested in that singles domain. And Jasper Troy is greener than goose, you know? Greener than goose. He's greener than goose. And that's fine. He's new to this.
He's got green eyes.
He's got green eyes.
One eyes.
Greener than
eyes in prison.
He's greener than goose. Phase one of some half-decent ideas to make this a dramatic spectacle, resourceful, recognizing the flaws inherent to this match. I don't know, I thought this is a half-decent idea and a half-decent way to build a main event, which, idea-wise, not a bad way to approach this thing. It's a spectacle with suspense and stunts. We'll see more of that when the match actually happens. Shame about the old execution.
Well, you mentioned all that as if to illustrate why the men's division needs more creativity like what you've just described. We start with Ethan Page versus Sean Legacy.
Yeah, we do.
God damn, what are they doing to us? So how does one analyze Ethan Page versus Sean Legacy? Because here's what happened. Wrestling happened. Ethan Page works a headlock. Sean Legacy's got the old flashy maneuver, the old counter skill, a little bit of something, youthful exuberance and all that kind of stuff. You've seen it a million times, but Ethan Page, the professional wrestler from wrestling, is able to out-wrestle this guy, Sean Legacy, with a young...
Keep him grounded.
Yeah. And he does, and he works it, and he works it, and he pretty much just stays on the heat with Sean Legacy very occasionally making an escape and making a save for himself and then making a comeback before yet again you get the cut off and Ethan Page makes him come. And he makes him come for the last time when Sean Legacy makes one last comeback, does it like a series of drop kicks, gets like the sort of all the usual shine spots that you've seen a million times, but the fans are coming up for it. Ethan Page rolls to the floor, hits Sean Legacy, hits a big dive onto Ethan Page, and he rolls him back in. He's going to go for a springboard 450. That move has brought him success. We've seen it, and we've seen it like get him a leg up over not even the competition, over people that he was previously below, because he's come from Evolve and all of that.
Evolve's on Tubi. Where every Wednesday night you got to check out Evolve.
I'll check it out
every
tonight.
Wednesday on Tubi. What else are you going to do on a Wednesday?
Sure. I can't think of a single thing. Is Evolve 2 hours?
I don't know.
Because if it's 2 hours, I'll probably watch it twice tonight. If it's 1, I'll watch it 4 times. Just to be on the set, back to back.
He's not here, you don't.
Starting from it.
To do this.
But this is the point, right? So like he's got his little moment and he flubs it. He goes for the springboard 450. He misses. Well, Page just moves out the way with experience and hits the twisted grin and gets the win. Like, what are you going for? Twisted Grin gets the win for Ethan Page. This was like 10 minutes, man.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I feel, God, I think I know Ethan Page to be one of the good guys.
Yes, yeah, I do too.
And funny as well when he wants to be. You know, curse where like him and Sean Spears, who are patter goofs in their best roles have nonetheless somewhat sensibly, like you're watching a training session on TV, and it's not entertaining, but somewhat sensibly have been cast in NXT. Now, it's not entertaining, but the idea is NXT exists to create stars for the future. It hasn't done the very best job of that in-house, certainly, for pretty much its entire lifespan, but that's the deal. Ethan Page is patter when he wants to be, model pro, nice guy. My neighbor's a nice guy. Ethan Page is Randy Orton if Randy Orton wasn't a star.
Oh.
And I know that's brutal.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is I'm watching Ethan Page and everything they say about Randy Orton, often wildly uninformed, but everything they say about Randy Orton.
Blandy
Orton
and Ethan Page.
Blandy Borton.
Borman Lames. Remember that? Yeah. Remember Borman Lames? People were desperate, weren't they?
Desperate to get that one over. I liked him as a babyface in the ring. Anyway, Ethan Page.
He used to be explosive, Roman Reigns. He used to be explosive.
Oh, he's dying. I mean, the drive-by was awesome. That plancha was, oh my God. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the deal with Ethan Page is what they say about Randy Orton. It's just the little things. What little things articulate? You can't. But Ethan Page is doing this thing where he's just asserting his dominance over young Sean Legacy, grounding him. If this guy gets on his feet, he's a younger, more sprightly, dynamic athlete who can do moves I can't. Best ground this guy.
Sort of plays on that. Well, Legacy qualified for this on any night, in any moment. Like, he could just get me. And that's that realism they're trying to play with. That on any night, anyone can beat anyone else.
So to tell the story in the early phase, like, Ethan Page does everything right. He's got him in like a headlock on the ground. And this is where, like, well, Sean Legacy, you've been doing some flips and stuff and evolved, but get in there with Ethan Page and he'll show you how the struggle, how to really get them. I mean, you can get these guys by doing anything in NXT, but how to really get them in the future, And he's grinding his forearm against Page, and Page is leaning his head back.
They are working a headlock.
They're working a headlock, and he's grinding it. He's putting his head away from Sean Legacy's forearm, and then when Sean Legacy can't get it, he cinches it in. So they're working the struggle, and it's Ethan Page, like, with good work, it feels like a struggle. There's an intensity, a viciousness, a domineering quality to his work. He is faithfully reproducing everything a more experienced, nasty heel wrestler should be doing to a young, athletic upstart to ground him. And it's, there's some like intensity there, and he's really cinching it in, and there's a real palpable struggle, and I don't care.
No.
I just don't care.
Is it? Well, this is the thing. Is it a palpable struggle? Because I don't feel a goddamn thing. So they are...
That's the thing. I'm looking at it, feeling nothing, admiring. Oh, hang on. There's an actual sense that he's trying to... One wrestler's desperately trying to escape this, and the other wrestler is desperity trying to maintain it.
But is it failing as a performance art?
Yes.
We do not feel it. Like,
yes, it's an F.
Congratulations, guys. You got an F.
It's an F. I feel nothing. Like
F for feel nothing.
Ethan Page he'll make a great player coach.
Yes.
Because if he imparts the rhythm of that exchange and teaches someone the rhythm of that exchange, the core fundamental reason why you make it the struggle, if he teaches that sequence, note for note, second for second, struggle for struggle, jostle for jostle, to someone with big room charisma, that person's going to be a star. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? He's a coach. In this match, like, Sean Legacy whiffed some of his like,
there's a night for this
big strikes and stuff. It's like, because I tell you what, I wasn't not into it. I'm being facetious. I mean, it's Ethan Page. It's the most ease. Now, like, we've tried to coin the Enigma wrestler. How good are you really, Jay White?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Like, Ethan Page is the opposite. We know exactly what you're going to get every single time. We know his ceiling. We know he's never going to headline WrestleMania. You know, he is in it. You know, what's the opposite of an enigma? A mundane guy. An open book.
An open book, that's what he is. An open book. I just don't want to read it.
Yes.
Much. This was my... This is going to sound way crueler on Ethan Page. This was my least favourite Shawn Legacy appearance yet. And it was the big one. It was the title shot that he's been waiting to get.
But what you can do after this is, he tried his hardest.
Yeah.
He showed me something, that kid. I want to see something else. I'm going to start watching Evolve on Tubi
it's Wednesday
on
night.
Wednesdays.
You know what that means?
Wednesday night's all right for Tubi.
You know what that means? Flick over to Tubi quick. What the Tubi? I haven't got it.
Tubi is a free app, at least where I am. You
Really?
can download it, and it's got like...
Evolve.
I'm fair. I don't want to denigrate the good people at Tubi. It feels like the shows that were kind of popular once upon a time, that Netflix have looked at the data and thought, well, no one's actually watching these, even though they're named properties, and then just Tubi snap them up.
Oh, fair enough.
And an ad-supported streaming revenue system.
And now Evolve is part of that. You see clips on Twitter. You should be ashamed of yourself, Evolve.
No, honestly.
I can't believe they put that on telly.
As I said the other week, it makes the last man standing match from WrestleMania 36 look like,
You know the camera?
like the Muta retirement. You know when Pro Wrestling Noah just busts out these amazing looking big shows like the Muta retirement?
Yeah.
Like, just steal it off them.
Do that.
Bright Light City.
You know, the screen in Triple H's office that's like always on the Performance Center ring, and this idea that like at any given moment the game could be watching.
Yeah.
You know, the thing they've got set up in the new Titan Tower where they can press the Performance Center channel.
Yeah,
see
yeah,
who's working
yeah,
out in the
yeah.
ring, who's doing drills or whatever. Like that's what I feel like I'm looking at. Even the way they frame the ring, it's like
Evolves.
tight shot on it.
It's just real bad.
Ricky Saints attacks Ethan Page post match. They have a brawl.
Doing the old Steamboat gimmick.
Yes, well, we'll get to that a little bit later on. He's got his, you do notice there's like still a plaster sort of thing, bandage on his throat from the attack a few weeks ago. And we'll get to the consequences later on. We go...
I hope he doesn't talk or attempt to talk through it.
There was a moment, wasn't there? There was a tease of that. But we'll get to that because there's some fun stuff still to come, I think. We go to Jacy Jayne, who's with Ava. She hasn't got a surname. She's Rock's daughter and the general manager of NXT. And the boss of the Prime Minister of Evolve. And also the boss of her second assistant, whose name always escapes me. It's
Robert Stone.
She hates everyone, does Ava, including
hang on. Before we go any further, I've said just had to do two gimmicks there. Who was she talking to here? Sorry.
Where are my manners? She was talking to NXT Women's Champion Jacy Jayne.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas, who at this point is kind of like casting an eye out on the 100 women that challenged her last week and deciding who she's going to face and all this sort of stuff. She wants to do it differently with Ava. She wants to build a friendship with Ava and says, well, Fallon Henley was NXT North American champion and she didn't really get on your good side, did she? And Fallon Henley's like,
You son of a bitch.
and two just can't get along. So Lainey Reid, that one that just appeared at ringside and was like, I'm Lainey Reid. Okay. Like, she walks in. This is sort of all right, even though it's crap. She walks in and she slaps Jacy Jayne, and Jacy Jayne is like, it does all her faces. That's what got her over. And she wants a title shot. Jacy Jayne's the most beatable champion, blah, blah, blah. Jacy Jayne's like, absolutely not. You just slapped me. So she hits her again. And she's like, actually, you know what? Title shot. And there's sort of a bit of law there, isn't it?
I'm going to beat up that little bitch.
That's
what she said.
If you recall, she walked right up to Stephanie Vaquer and slapped her. Do you remember?
I remember it.
So it's a bit, that's sort of like you had that coming, Jacy Jayne. Now you've got to offer a title shot because that's how you got it. And I don't mind that a little bit.
Maybe you could create an infinite loop scenario, though, because that's how it works, where everyone's just slapping.
Slap bets for title shots.
Slap bets for title shots.
No slap is coming, and when that slap comes, it's a duel. It's a glove slap, effectively.
Used to play slap fights at sixth form.
Hands off.
With the hands, and you would look at
the face. I was like, oh no.
So how did they end up getting the slap if you flinch?
I think so. Like so when you're doing it like that, and then you like that, and they go, oh, and you haven't moved your hand, you basically sold a dummy, and then you get a free slap.
It's free slap. I used to just slap my pals in the mush all the time.
Just want like that. They've left. Oh, well, it's your fault. You left stuff.
Yeah. So you deserve a slap in the head,
right?
And a shot at the NXT Women's title.
Sidge, I promised you a game, didn't I?
Yes.
We're going to play a little game, and it's a little bit different to the type of games we will play, but Let me explain that as I recap this segment first. We see Sol Ruca and Zaria doing a TikTok, and we're going to do the TikTok that they did because we are young, and at least one of us is in our 30s. The two of them are so best friends. They're so effing, if you will, that they've got to say the same word at the same time.
Sorry, I drifted off. Zaria and
Sol Ruca.
Yeah.
They're just backstage TikToking away, and they come up with this game where they've got to say the same word at the same time.
TikTok.
TikTok is this one. So I thought we could play that. See if we're as close as Sol Ruca and Zaria.
Like the married couple game thing.
Yeah, but we have to say it right at the same time. It's an incredibly difficult game because there's all the words, like all 3 words. It could be anything. So we have to look at each other.
2 or 3 times.
All right, then. Any word on the count of 3.
So how is it 3, 2, 1 word?
Yes, let's do that. 3, 2, 1 word, and we'll have 3 goes at this, all right?
Okay, let's just try some telepathy and look at each other first, right? Okay.
Ready?
Wait, no. Let's just try and do this. 3, 2, 1. Jones.
Oh!
I saw a little J in there.
Sound
J in there.
Second bite.
Second bite of the cherry.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Sandwich. Oh, that's close.
It's close.
That is close. How are we circling this close? This close.
Yeah.
We'll get it right this time, right? Ready?
3, 2, 1. Sean.
Ah,
What was yours?
cup. I just saw that cup there.
All right, no. Well, we're fair.
No, obviously, we're not as close as Sol Ruca and Zaria. You get it right at the end, but they don't get it right at first. Now, there's a bit of a teaser in here of what might be in somebody's future because Zaria said nose and Sol Ruca said hanger. So I don't think she's watching Evolve on a Wednesday night at all. Do you? I think she's into her gardening. But they're trying to film the TikTok, and you're not going to bloody believe it, Sidge. They're just enjoying TikToking.
And who's in the background?
Friggin' row kicks off with the women's division.
Wah.
Trying to do a TikTok. Lash Legend's like, you're all terrible. And Ren's like, can you stop being awful to everybody, please? Kalani Jordan's to say, I'm pretty tired of this as well. Ren says, you can't just do and say what you want, and I'll see you in the ring. So the match is set. And because we've been watching this through Sol Ruca and Zaria's unreleased TikTok. Explain that.
Maybe you can do TikTok live, probably.
Maybe
you can do live stories.
So it's
on
not
Instagram.
an invisible camera. So in other words, this segment is perfect.
Yes.
Right. So they're flicking the camera back and forth, and they go back to selfie mode, and then they go 3, 2, 1, drama, and they've gone and got the same word. It's worked out great in the end.
Yeah. Great is not the word I would use.
Zaria, the Mad Max character that's come from the Australian outback warlord. Drama. But her and Sol have never been closer, so I don't see that relationship falling apart. Speaking of drama, we next go to the, darkened offices of the Culling.
Oh my God, the music choice here.
It's got music. It's got, it's framed like Sean Spears is constantly in giving them a Derek job interview. He's kind of like, Izzy, explain your actions. And then Izzy goes on to explain her actions. Brooks wasn't anything like us. He didn't believe in us. He didn't dress like us. And they show little clips where he's in a slightly different coloured T-shirt as they walk in the ring. And then things they've clearly had to film where because we've watched these vignettes and they haven't done this. So they've had to go back and film dark studio vignettes where Brooks is like, I'm not sure about that one. And Izzy's going, Suspicious all along. And that's why she's taken him out. It was one thing for them to not believe in the messages of Culling, but it was quite another for him to drop the ball to Hank Tank and Briggs at Battleground, which doesn't sound much like the way she's talking about everything else. But they don't care about that. He dropped the ball at Battleground. So you know what happens when somebody drops the ball at Battleground, Sidge? That's right. You purge the weak and drop the feeble. We've always said that.
Same thing, innit?
You've got to purge the weak and drop the feeble.
Same thing.
Yeah. And Spears is like, good, Izzy, good. Nico, what are you up to? Anything? And he's like, I'd like to thank her for eliminating her. I didn't really see that Brooks was like that, but now we have a new beginning. And Sean Spears is like, do you see anything else, Izzy? Kind of suggesting she's got a bit of an Apollo Crews view into the future now. And she says, I've got my eye on something. and then it fades from the dark room to them in the entranceway via Izzy Dame's face.
Yes.
What's going on with the Culling, Sid?
I could not care less. It's like, Hackenbottom stinks.
This is the worst
Stinks.
stable
Ever.
we've ever covered on NXT.
No. The jism existed, the schism.
The Culling have not done anything as funny as feeding Bron Breakker to flesh-eating, what are they called? The Undertaker used to have to deal with them. Druids. Flesh-eating druids. The Culling, Sean Spears has never produced 8 flesh-eating druids. Remember that time?
Hang on.
When they carried...
Hang on. It was Joe Gacy.
Yeah,
Joe Gacy, the Grizzly Young Vets, and Ava.
Yeah.
Jeez, I forgot who was in the police
Remember
stable.
because they were foo-heading at the time, and Joe Gacy had, like, the druids all line up in perfect order to pass him the belt very neatly.
Yes, like why? Why?
of
Like a
his
dark,
formations.
sinister ceremony.
Synchronicity.
This Culling stinks, and so does Sean Hackenbottom's arse. You know,
It's got a smelly arse. Smelly arse Shawn Michaels, what we always said. Arse smell kid.
Hackenbottom, more like.
Hackenbottom,
Cack.
Cack in bottom.
Yeah.
Sean Michael Rottenbottom.
Nailed it.
Anything, because here's the thing, man.
Rotten bottom. Sometimes you get those buildings, those locker rooms had an awful smell, and I knew Sean had been there for it's classic rotten bottom.
He called him like, he's like ringing up like the big rhino night off. And it's like, what's going on, Brett? Yeah. And Rotten Bottom's is pulling his crap again. What can I say?
Oh, God.
You know, I do a double shot in Montreal. And I told him, I says, I'm going to be late for Ottawa if I'm going on Madney. And then Sean and Hunter are piping up, saying that, I'm late and unprofessional.
I asked Stu for his advice. I called him Stu when I rang to ask about the business. I said, Stu, what am I going to do about Rotten Bottom? And he said, is that stinky ass giving you trouble again, Brett? Is that stinky ass talking your stinky ass talk again, Brett?
When you stretch that Rotten Bottom.
Pull that Rotten Bottom right open. You take him up to the dungeon, then we'll see how rotten his bottom is.
You stretch that Rotten Bottom. You tell him what for, young man.
I traveled thousands of miles at great personal expense to visit that house.
I know. Stretch that Rotten Bottom. Now he sucks.
Patriarch of the Hart family, Jerry Sachs.
Yeah, stretch that Rotten Bottom.
Look at the nasty size of Rotten Bottom.
And I'm going to fold my territory by putting my useless son, Bruce, on top. The reason...
Brett, you're the most important person that's ever happened in my life.
You've got...
Brett, none of this happens without you, mate. I love you more than anything.
Create your own immediate family.
yeah, in wrestling terms. And sometimes others.
I'll tell you what, but why Rotten Bottom stinks.
Stretch out that stinking Rotten Bottom.
This is why Rotten Bottom stinks. Because
Paul Levesque, the only reason he's got his nose so big is so he could stick it up Sean's Rotten Bottom. That's how we got over.
That bottom's so rotten. The only reason why Triple H was in the clique is so he can wipe his ass. You're carrying his bags and he's wiping his ass.
They were full of TP, those bags he was carrying. That's why he had so many bags to carry. Scott and Kevin had to get all the way to Atlanta to escape that Rotten Bottom.
That Canadian flag was covered in shit, let me tell you. When Rotten Bottom got a hold of it.
Right.
Anyway.
The Culling versus Josh Briggs and Inamura.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at with the whole Rotten Bottom.
Sorry, what are you getting at?
How many times was Shawn Michaels book, promote, write for a character you are meant to receive as Sinister.
Oh, I know.
And I've never once in my life felt scared, unsettled, intimidated. Like Spooky Wendy Chu, the Schism, the Culling. How do you get to that? This has got to be... See, this is the 8th one.
Yeah.
Tian Sha, that was Levesque. So, you got the Schism. Yeah, say it's, for argument's sake, it's the 8th Sinister comes Spooky act. How do you get to 8? How does this make it, literally, how does something like the Culling make it to television? Where the idea that Sean Spears, as I said, this is a guy who's been in school longer than Screech. He's in developmental now, he's in developmental in 2006. How do you...
What year have you been in since the 90s? 10.
Bloody... How does this... Genuinely, I'm asking. I know the answer is because, that rat and bottom stinks. How do you get to the 8th iteration of this idea and think, bloody hell, we've had such great success with Wendy Chu. A great success with Tan Shaw.
Definitely no overlap to Apollo Crews seeing the future.
Yeah, the Schism and the Jism.
Tatum Paxley.
The
initial the Witches, when they were a tag team.
Oh, aye. Alba Fire
and Isla Dawn.
How do you get to this number and think, God, these are such great ideas. These always work. Let's keep doing them. He's a hack.
Yeah. No notes, because this is... The Culling are so boring, I think, that, So I didn't really get much out of Inamura here after the... there was an initial first period where, him and Nico were trying to get something going. He hit him with a massive pounce, and he hit this splash, and then Sean Spears...
Brian, by the way, you know what to do.
Yeah, you do. You've already had to do one of those this
Photoshop, rotten bottom's ass covered in crap.
I saw Randy Marsh on a Brian Photoshop. It's been a fecal weekle for old Brian. Sorry, mate. Inamura and Nico were doing some sort of all right stuff, but then don't worry, Sean Spears saved the day and slow it down, kid. You've got Izzy Dame sort of patrolling the floor. She's now... The chair is almost like it's taken on a different life as a weapon, because it's like Michael Cole's shield chair.
Yes.
The Izzy Dame chair is kind of it's sort of the Brooks chair, isn't it? It's the Brooks chair, and it's the chair that took Brooks out of the Culling. So at any given moment, if she swings it that way, your life's going to hit the skids the same way as Brooks. Anyway, whatever. The Culling get the win. It's 5 minutes long. There's one hot tag that falls short for the baby faces, and it seems now the Culling are better than ever. And
getting a push.
Well, is this in service of? I've got to say this, even in Wilborn's absence. Briggs and Inamura, since Inamura's come back, they've not been able to get going again with winning ways and all the stuff that Briggs missed about him. Is he gonna pull Brooks back from the brink and get the gang back together?
We don't have to do it. He's not here.
All right. I care about that.
It
reminds me of a time when I did.
Yeah. It's a topic for another day. A day when Wilborn's here. This match was absolutely nothing. It's one of those when the announcer, Cory Graves, in this instance, is saying, well, it weren't pretty, but it was damn sure effective. And, the match was really boring, and the finish was clunky, and the work was clunky. Inamura, eating those chops with a smile on his face, and he's the guy who didn't learn at the Performance Center gets reactions for wrestling.
It's fun to watch, isn't it? Cory Graves, by the way, who as good as said, I hate it here.
Yeah.
In that tweet where he was like...
Sometimes your passion runs low.
Yeah, and then he started saying how great a time he had at Worlds Collide, but he had to start it with, this sucks. But on Saturday, it didn't suck no more. Was he good or not? Was he? I didn't watch the show.
Cory Graves, right, we'll go have a little...
That was Nia Jax's music.
Cory Graves tangent.
Yeah.
How bad? How bad?
The gravy boat.
Yeah.
The gravy thout.
The gravy thout. How bad? How bad must Booker T be? Right. And how obnoxious must he be to be like your work colleague if Cory Graves talking about when worlds collide is this sort of uplifting experience, this like restorative experience in his professional career when he had to babysit Conan.
Yeah.
Did you hear any of the Conan's
No,
commentary? Oh my God. He's an old dude now.
Yeah.
He was a charismatic. He was always, face down, ass up. I'm Conan.
You seen his podcast?
It's weird. It's wild watching worlds collide and thinking the guy who's commentating on the show has invaded my DMs to ask if I've. You ever had that from? Yeah. Like literally everyone, even vaguely tangentially related to wrestling Twitter, has had that DM. It's like a rite of passage. Conan was like low energy, kind of hopeless. And Cory Graves was so nice to him.
Oh.
And Cory Graves had done his research, and he had a good night. Cory had a good night, which is funny. Like, oh God, it's true. It's a welcome relief having Conan next to me and not Booker T.
I've just thought like how sort of on account of the fact that Road Dogg inexplicably remains in his job on SmackDown and Conan works Worlds Collide and Ron Killings returns. What a weekend for 3 Live Crew.
I know.
The market leader in 2025.
Yeah, what happened to this business?
What the hell happened to this business? Well, we're backstage. Ava is like asking Ricky Starks what he was thinking going out there, but it's rhetorical because my man can't even use his larynx. She's identified as she did the bruising on his neck because he goes to say like, well, and then she's like,
it sounds like me.
She goes, well, stop. Like, there's enough charisma in this room with me talking. You save it, Ricky.
That's a great point you've made. Sorry, keep going.
It's she says, let me handle it. Go home until the, as in this promo, I assume. Let me handle it. Go home until the medics officially clear. So there'll be no Ricky Saints until he's actually physically cleared to wrestle.
I'm going to reiterate my position that they just need to what have you got with Ricky Saints? Put him on TV and let him talk. Give him a push. What are we doing with this looping program?
Yeah,
with Ethan Page. I mean, it's that rotten bottom stuff again. Like, what do you expect? How's this going to work? You've done it at WrestleMania weekend. We're still doing this. How? And I understand. He's a babyface. You injure the babyface. You get sympathy on the babyface. It's all part of Ethan Page's head law, right?
His grand plan.
Yeah, you'll break your jaw. You'll crush your larynx. You'll do things to your face, right? In your throat. How, and I know, because I've just explained why this is happening, but it's so funny now that you've just sparked it in my head. How the hell are you so incompetent to book a segment of television between Ricky Starks and Ava Raine and have it so that one of them is unable to speak? And the person in this segment who's unable to speak is Ricky Starks. And right about him ain't got a clue what the hell's going on. I sound like him.
You sound like him from Curb, don't you?
Funkhouse is all you were thinking of.
You want to hear a funny joke? That's good. That's really good.
Absolutely.
Mickey Funkhauser.
You sound like Funkhauser?
Funkhauser.
I was also thinking that you were going to go on to the, when you started getting on
Who
about...
writes these?
Yeah. You sound exactly like him.
Who writes these?
You are LaGreca ready.
But it sounds like you were doing Funkhauser only when Leon is telling Larry what to do. You gotta open that ass up. You gotta put your foot in that ass. You gotta throw your trash all over that ass, and then right on that ass. Larry was here. That's thick and bottom's bottom.
You got to stick your foot up that rock bottom.
You gotta get that rock bottom.
Absolute Ricky Starks and absolutely useless Ava.
Yeah.
The two of them together. Yeah. Sarah Schreiber is waiting outside the medics to see if Femi's going to be fit to wrestle tonight. The match is still on, but it could be in jeopardy. The doctors won't clear him yet. But then the shot is broken up by a noise of the Chase U members, Cale Dixon and Uriah Connors, slamming a garage door. They're so frigging mad about last week's match and have waited 7 days to express that anger. They bottled that anger and held it in for this exact moment when Sarah Schreiber's near a medic's office so they can slam a wall. They didn't slam the wall for 7 days.
No.
I'm furious in a week.
Wrestling sucks.
But Andre Trace is like, well, yeah, you stupid idiots. I told you this was going to happen against Dark State. If you're going to do this whole Chase U thing, you're going to have to do it the right way. And they're like, yeah, how are we going to do that, Andre Chase? And he's like, well, you've enrolled in a college within a wrestling school. You're going to have to go to class. So Chase U is going to teach classes like it was doing all along.
Yeah.
As opposed to wrestling.
No, it's not before time.
Not Chase U is.
These guys need to knuckle down, huh?
Yeah. In class instead of some of the other stuff they're up to.
Yeah, because they're too busy.
Do it as funk house.
That's You're too busy. You need to mop the floor with a competition. You're too busy mopping up men's juice with your mouth. At the co-eds, at the dorm rooms.
That's how the promo ended. Yeah.
And I teach you about the big finish. I'm not saying blow it all over the load all over their faces. I'm saying get the 3 count.
Mariah May's in the bath. She's watching a screen and it's like, get out.
Sorry, I missed all that.
Mariah May's in the bath. And she's having a bath and she's covered by bubbles. You can't see anything.
Did you look, did you?
I'm making notes. Somebody had to replace Will Borne. And the voice is like, get out. And she has to get out of the bath. She puts some clothes on and then you hear a voiceover saying, she is beauty, she is grace. She will probably punch you in the face. I was like, I
Did
hate
script
this.
write this?
Thank you, I hate it.
Did script write this?
The glamour is the reason for the spotlight. The glamour is who you've been waiting for. Introducing Blake Monroe. I'm old, only know this because I saw it on Twitter. It's a riff on how Sabrina Carpenter opens up her live shows. They do this pretty much shot for shot, and then some of the aesthetics were sort of kind of 50s, 60s Americana leaning as if to, right, I see that look, pal. Outright steal from the timeless Tony Storm aesthetic, but try and keep the character on one singular journey. Fair, reasonable, or generous?
So it was Sabrina Carpenter X Timeless Tony Storm.
Yes.
So it was that I interpreted all of this as sort of a, well, let's keep it a little bit youth friendly, borrow from Carpenter, but we know why you're here. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this before I give you mine?
The name's fine. Said it. Been calling a guy.
God, I know.
Been calling a guy triple for 30 years. In 1990, I saw Marty Jannetty and Sean Rottenbottom, and it didn't put me off enjoying his work.
No.
So names are just names. You will get you some Blake Monroe's. Blake Monroe's a fine name unless somebody else has already got that name pending some Twitter detective work.
Indeed.
We'll see how that turns out.
Blake Monroe. Blake Monroe. You can chant it. Chant it. It's got that enough syllables.
I immediately got the feeling that this is too low rent for its own good, and they need to be careful. Otherwise, this could go absolutely nowhere fast.
Tits up.
Yeah. Can you explain why? Because I still don't think I can articulate it.
Well, here's the thing, right? It's already bad enough that Mally Black is just going to non-finishes and making up the numbers but not taking the pins in multi-mans. He's just part of the furniture, as if he's been there and he's almost feels like, well, Mally Black's on the way out. The main event run didn't take that. He's not even done that.
Yeah.
He is being cast as a guy who's been there for years.
Nobody's calling for it.
It's absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd. So that's one thing. It's another to have, the optics. It's a weird. WWE's always very good, massaging media outlets where it's not so much we are taking ready-made stars from the competition that even in its worst spell, 2023 was able to do something with a Mariah May and whatever. It's no longer, they're just poaching the talent and just keeping them keeping their presentation in AEW identical. Penta, Ricky Starks, Cody, Jade Cargill. Like, it's not like we are just not stealing their ideas, but just, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Oh, hang on, we need to tell the people that AEW's broke. Otherwise, people think that it has to be dysfunctional. So now it's, oh, bloody hell, what a star that Tony had on his hands. He's fumbled it. He created it. More often than not, it's reached its expiry date, and then WWE can just have it for themselves. There's no fumble. But this is, our bloody listeners and viewers know all this. This presents, and the good news for the Fed is that the specific Mariah May character, you're kind of not going to see anything like it in AEW again, because it was basically, it existed for the Tony Storm storyline, and it lasted as long as his fortune would have it, as long as the Tony Storm feuд lasted. But it's interesting in this specific scenario because Mariah May's character existed to shadow, learn from, imitate, subsume the timeless Tony Storm character in the parameters of that storyline. She, in effect, was going to replace Tony Storm, the fading glamour of old Hollywood, and I will imitate her, I will study under her, I will essentially embody her, and then I will take over her and cast her aside. So she essentially, the character of Mariah May, who was nothing really in wrestling before this AEW run that she can go back to, the character of Mariah May, the very popular and mostly well-performed character of Mariah May, begins and ends as timeless Tony Storm's doppelganger, in effect. This is interesting, though, because in WWE, she kind of has to play that character again. Because why? You're not going to repackage her as Adivana, an astronaut.
No.
You've bought Mariah May.
Yeah.
So you book Mariah May.
But there's no ganger to doppel.
Exactly. So now, unlike the majority of instances where, Ricky Starks is AEW, and Ricky Starks is Ricky Starks in AEW, he's playing the same character, but it's the same guy. On this very brief evidence, and yes, it might go really well, and this could be too lengthy a discussion for how early this is all happening. At present, this initial presentation of the Mariah May character in the Blake Monroe character in NXT, this is the first time it feels like a direct rip-off. It's like Shark and what was it? Avalanche and Earthquake.
Yeah.
Avalanche and Earthquake.
The boss. She's
renegaded Tony Storm.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
Because the exact way that the career's gone, it can only feel like, they're ripping off AEW for the first time. And with the form that Storm is in, the timing of this jump might not be as astute as everyone thought it might. It only dawned on me when I watched this, I thought, they have to do it, but it's now scanning like a total rip-off for the first time.
The match, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's like we're analysing what we've been given here, but there's obviously going to be more to come. You let it play out and things like that, but the matches are going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting here, aren't they?
It's one of those where early doors then feed into my other theory that wrestling is better off being bad and mundane for a long time. Because then, how hot was Austin in 98? I was like, WrestleMania 14 was great. I think I'm fully back in love with the World Wrestling Federation. Who's he going to wrestle? That was, I used to get like, who's he going to wrestle?
Yeah.
Like, who the hell is he going to wrestle this guy? It turns out the Undertaker for 2 years.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But because Austin was so vastly over than the vast majority, and obviously The Rock and everyone came up, but for 18 months, it was pretty bleak. Pretty bleak, that main event scene in the Fed. But it made Austin look amazing by comparison. So I don't really care about Kane and The Undertaker together.
Yeah.
Breakdown or whenever it was.
Plow through everybody. Just plow through everybody.
But Austin's so entertaining and having some mundane bruises to work with, like the Royal Rumble 98. Austin's so much better. Please, Austin win. The rest of the year are boring.
Yeah.
Mariah May might benefit from a post-vacay world.
Yeah.
Where Alicia's better than Adivana. Some of them, most of them. The total lack of, not the total, but the general lack of in-ring quality and star power in that NXT women's division might help her by association.
Booker T might help her by association because he ripped his knob off when they went back to the
Well, it's Nigel McGuinness again, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then Booker T's a gooner.
He's a gooner commentator, isn't he?
So I don't think that's necessarily a patent.
No. It's just...
There's been a long, rich, traditional history of commentating gooners. Jerry Lawler, the secret gooner, Jim Ross, like genuinely like get well soon and all the rest of it. But
get well goon.
Get well. He was gooning in the dub for a long time.
Gooner.
Gooning in the dub.
Boomer gooner.
Boomer gooner. Jerry Lawler, Jim Ross.
Yeah.
Booker T, Nigel McGuinness.
Yeah.
Cory Graves.
Yeah.
Was a low-level threat.
Well, his thing was strange because he gooned his wife. He was a wife gooner, so that was like a unique sort of proposition.
He was gooning before that relationship happened, I think.
Yeah.
And he was gooning since.
He
doesn't really goon much these days.
No.
Maybe he wants the big seat. And if you want the big seat, you got to do your gooning on Twitter.
Yeah.
Who else is a commentating gooner?
There's 4 more matches on this show, lads.
I'm not going to talk about them. So it's fine.
Mean Goon Oakland. Remember WCW Vince Russo, Mean Gene, where he was just just an out front pervert.
Yeah.
Was Bobby Heenan? Not really, was he? Bobby Heenan wasn't much of a gooner. He would always talk about sensational Sherry, but it was very much to make the point that like the heel valet, as opposed to Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Watching 1996 Fed for Benno and Hamflett in your house, wherever you get your podcasts. The bit where Jerry Lawler is instructed to call Sable ugly is so jarring because she's with Mark Mero and Vince is like, "What a classy lady," and Jerry Lawler's like, "She's the ugliest broad I ever laid eyes on. Disgusting." As opposed to the man whose legs like looked like they were relearning to walk for the first time when she like revealed herself. Was it fully loaded?
Fully loaded,
and his legs bounced like
Jerry Lawler's legs,
separate pogo sticks, and she's got handprints. His legs were individually gooning, independent of his brain and body.
That every single part of his body was gooning in. So you know what? It was a Bill Hicks who said, "We are just one conscience Bill Hicks said, "We are just one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively," right?
Yeah.
And you thought, "Oh, bloody hell, that's profound." Yeah, I don't know what it means, but you're 18 and you're watching Hicks for the first time, you think, bloody hell, that's profound. Jerry Lawler is several body parts manipulating themselves to issue all at once. He's coming out of his elbows. Like Spider-Man waltzing around New York City. Jerry Lawler's coming out of his teeth. He's coming out of his. He's coming out of his. He's coming out of his armpits. He's coming out of his nips.
Came out your crown there, Jerry.
What was next on the
Lash
show?
Legend versus Ren Sinclair was next. Klein Jordan came out for commentary. Obviously, she was part of the little row that had backstage, and she was distracting on and off Lash Legend and Ren Sinclair. This was like, this was halfway all right, I suppose, until it badly wasn't at the end. They were doing...
he's got a rotten bottom at Jerry Lawler. That hacking bottom. He's got a rotten bottom. His bottom's as rotten as when Jerry Lawler was still taking a crap when he came out to break up the fight between Brett and Sean, and you got him, boy.
You know.
You really took him. Jerry Lawler's rotten bottom. I don't think he had time to wipe his ass.
I heard when Jerry Lawler entered the World Wrestling Federation, Sean held his rotten bottom over the crown because Jerry used to stiff the boys for payoffs. It's all submission stuff. With Lash Legend using her power game to power out of all of Ren Sinclair's submissions, and she's kind of capturing her in these various holds. It's Ren-QCC stuff that she learns in Dad Dojo or whatever. And things are going all right, but like Lash Legend's overpowering her. Ren Sinclair goes to the top. Oh, God almighty. She goes to the top where Lash Legend, I think, is supposed to catch her and then in one fluid motion swing around to something like a black hole slam. Maybe she's supposed to land around the back for like a fall-away version of it. She just like
beats me.
falls over with her on top with with no impact on the fall. It was like she couldn't have. It was graceless, but she couldn't have more gracefully lowered her to the ground. And then they're both there, and she's like, "Well, I'm pinning you." 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
God, like they've been at this. These are two of the better ones.
Beats me.
Two of the better ones on the roster, Sid. Like there's hierarchies on this NXT roster. We talk about the Shawn legacies and the like, and need a little time.
Need a little time.
Quite a lot of time.
Little time to think things over. Not good. Maybe it's an off night. We do like Lash Legend here. Earnestly.
It was rough. Jasper Troy is interviewed by Sarah Schreiber. Could you cost yourself a title shot tonight with your attack? And Jasper said, nah, not going to cost me anything. Oba's too strong to just stay down off a little attack. He'll be there tonight. I'm counting on it. So he's kind of calling over Femi's bluff a little bit off the back of the attack. Women's Championship match. Jacy Jayne versus Lainey Reid. Goes too long. Jacy Jayne is doing a hard-hitting, attempting to be... I'm being flippant. There was an okay story wrapped up in very, 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 very middling work.
But one of them was like brand new on the scene.
Yeah. This Lainey Reid is like... She's neither babyface nor heel, but she's like... spunky upstart, but it's
spunky.
Yeah, but not really the natural babyface opposition to Jacy Jayne. Jacy Jayne, on the other hand, is simultaneously paper champion and I've been here a long time, kid. So the hard hitting stuff is supposed to register like you were in there with a dead man. You didn't expect Jacy Jayne's soup bones. But then at various points she's got like.
I'd like to welcome you to the newest member of the BSK, and yes, she's a lady. Mind your manners. It's Jacy Jayne. Mind your manners.
Can I have a crate of beer and a lager and lamb?
Be on the new.
So that's what they're doing.
Lager and lamb. Oh, that's good stuff.
That's what they're doing. Fallon Henley runs distraction. Jacy gets a rolling on call, gets the win. She's celebrating her first successful title, second. Anyway, she's still champion. And Ava's on the podium. And it's like, you got your choice at your opponent, but I'm going to take care of it.
I still think Jacy Jayne can take on Ring that right here.
Hey, Phineas, go get Jacy tattooed on your neck. You won't regret it. I know a removal guy if it goes wrong. She announces the evolution.
Vince is going to put him on Superstars in November '96. That's where the goddamn business is heading, apparently. Why can't you get more serious superstars like an undead mortician, Vince? Idiot.
Do you, Henry Savio, do you think I'm stupid? Jace's best friend is Fallon, and she owns a bar. We'll get our drinks for free. The Evolution Eliminator is announced. It's Lash Legend versus Kalani Jordan, Zaria versus Izzy Dame, Thea Hale versus Jada Parker, and Lola Vice versus Jordan Grace. The winners of each will be in a fatal four-way. The winner of that will take on Jacy Jayne at Evolution. Big match to make it onto that card. NXT title, presumably the anointment of Jordan Grace.
Probably. Watching Ava Raine, we're at the Eagle's Nest, cutting a live promo. Honestly, I'm not being funny.
Nor is she.
And in terms of presence, delivery, showmanship, authority, any sort of qualities you would associate with like a performer on TV. You see the same faces on your commute to and from work.
Yeah.
Just, it might as well be one of them just talking to me on the TV for how little screen presence she has.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Oh, God.
Inamura and Briggs, as we were saying, they know they're better than how they're getting on at the moment. They're trying to get over their defeat. And in comes Casey Navarro and top dollar himself, AJ Francis. Yeah. Tough loss, you suck. The belts will look better on us. F off. And they've kind of already talked their way into wanting to get on the ladder again in NXT. Top dollar's absolutely buzzing to be back. Inamura's like, these two are really annoying. And AJ Francis is like, Briggs sucks ass. Inamura, you're all right. You could be a star. You could be somebody. And Elijah walks in with the guitar. It's like it's a bunch of wrestlers I never cared about that got released and went somewhere else and never come back. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
And he's like, I'd have been the TNA champion if it wasn't for you, because they're now obviously associates with Trick Williams. Trick Williams retained his title on that TNA pay-per-views. And like he says, well, yeah, we're going to go and have a chat with the TNA champion. More on that a little bit later. Luca Crucifino's on the phone. With
loads left of this.
With cameras, lights, and a boom mic. And just says it's taken care of. And then Tony D'Angelo walks over and says, what's going on there? So I'm just taking care of business. I mean, you think he'd be more clear considering that all of this is rooted in a lack of trust, and he could have just told us 3 or 4 more details of his phone call. But no, he doesn't. He said, Tony says, I ain't buying it. Well, he's giving you nothing to sell, so don't blame me, Tony. And off they go to the ring for their match. In the meantime, before we get to the ring, you've got Myles Borne with the Wren-QCC. Wren says, like, Charlie Dempsey just had something he wanted to say, and Charlie Dempsey's like, I was angry last week that you beat me, but I've listened to Wren, and yes, Myles Borne, you deserve my respect, and you may leave this group, which you are not beholden to. I don't know. Javon Evans is like, yeah, nice one. Let's go out in the piss, Myles. Like, you don't need to train every single day. And like, Tavion gets a look at this. He's like, can I leave as well? And Charlie Dempsey's like, no, you bloody can't. Like, he's not happy about it.
Not happy.
So, yeah. Then we go to the crowd where there's El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr., there's Mr. Iguano, and then there's El Hijo de William Regal Jr. on Mr. Iguana's shoulder. More Mr. Iguana forever and ever and ever, amen. Tony D'Angelo and Luca Crucifino against Tyrick Igwe and Tyson DuPont. Hey, Ryze.
Oh, dear.
Another attackerino. Well, like 6 things go wrong over the course of like 9 minutes. It's like, is it anything not going to be a match, guys? It ain't good. It's just a tag match. It's just a tag match with an exchange of moves and half of them aren't hit properly. But the big sort of constant thrust is Tony D'Angelo never really wanted to turn his back on Luca Crucifino because he just can't trust him. You know, like what's going on with Stacks and what's going on with the phone call that he didn't ask any further questions about. There's just a lack of trust.
Yeah,
right now.
I know.
I can't figure out why. And sure enough, later on into the match, as it seems as though the family have got things under control against High Rise, Stacks is here. He gets onto the apron. Tony pulls him into the ring. They two are trying to be separated. And while they're trying to be separated, Luca Crucifino stands behind Tony D'Angelo ominously with a crowbar. Doesn't move with it, but he's holding the crowbar in his hand. Tony gets rid of Stacks for the time being and then turns around and sees Luca holding the crowbar and presumably thinks,
he's going to get my ass.
He's going to hit me with that because I'm going to need a brick of an ass if you're going to hit me with that. But the distraction in the meantime, while they're both just frozen in confusion, it's Tyrick Igwe, I think, takes out Tony and High Rise get the win. It's another crushing defeat for the family. Is the trust gone forever?
I could not care less.
Me neither. It's not great, that, is it?
No.
I'll get Wilborn's thoughts on this next week. I think he'll probably have the analysis that the people crave.
Indeed. I just... like
Rotten Bottom's lost interest in... he's kind of... This is becoming a bit of a wet fart out of Rotten Bottom, the family, isn't it?
It's idiot plot slop trash that's not even so bad it's good. Like, the most easily clarified series of miscommunications just constantly lead me down this path, and I have to suffer the most mediocre and poorly executed professional wrestling. It's the obligatory part to get to the terrible acting and the worst storytelling of all time. I hate what this business has become.
It is funny every week as well how, like, were you going to enact violence on me?
Mafia man.
Also, man.
Yeah.
I like this. Just earnestly liked it. I thought Trick Williams had a good week this week. He's with Sarah Schreiber. She congratulates him on defending the TNA title against all odds. He's like, thanks, but I don't care. I'm doing this for me now. Not bothered about Mike Santana. You made a promise to your daughter. Why would you lie to her? That was pretty good. He's saying like, yeah, Elijah, big deal. I've seen that he's showing up, but I kick his ass as well. They're all losers in TNA. But I'm going to prove that because next week, Elijah's going to team up with Inamura and Briggs and me. And First Class, that's top dollar in the other one, they're going to dog walk them out of NXT. So, as your 6 man.
Is this the stuff with, what was this again?
Trick Williams.
Yeah. It was Elijah here.
Yeah. Well, it's for the setup for the 6-man.
Yeah. So the only thing I can remember from this recalling feeling, right, was that he said yesterday that this interpromotional relationship isn't working because it's not like Ring of Honor and Combat Zone or New Japan and UWFI where there's like a distinct philosophical thing or one promotion thinks that they do what the other does but better, you know, with more legitimacy. It's two horrendous, ghastly sports entertainment shows sellotaped to each other. When I saw like Elijah, and I know they've been in the system before and everything, but it's no wonder they're slotting so seamlessly into the slop world because they are slopping from one slop world right into the next slop world.
It's quite something, isn't it? I've only just really thought about it, like, so the joke, and it was earned, right? The joke for years and years and years and years. And here's a good example, right? What's Elijah doing in the Impact Zone? Because we can't call him Elias, right?
Yes.
But now he's sort of stuck with the Elijah, and they're now using the TNA name to be like, what's Elijah doing in the NXT Zone?
Yeah.
Like, both suck. It used to suck when TNA did it. They were just stuck with what they were stuck with because of copyrights.
Yeah.
And now the new guys are coming back. And it's like, you can call him Elias if you want. He's probably got more credit in the bank as Elias here.
No, he's
But
Elijah.
He's Elijah. He's stuck with this version of him.
I mean, I just don't see literally any appreciable difference between TNA and NXT as TV shows. There is no surreal, cool factor behind. You know what I mean?
That's why WWE like it, isn't it? Because they believe if they can create that mindset amongst enough people, that it'll be like, oh, yeah, when I finish watching Raw and SmackDown and Evolve on Tubi, I've probably got time for one more wrestling show. What's it going to be? Probably NXT TNA.
Yeah. It's
singular enterprise.
And that's what they're trying to achieve. And it's actually...
The quality is so poor that it will not work.
Yeah, I know.
It's so poor.
It's so poor. It's actually a wild struggle to think that they haven't been collaborating all this time.
Yeah.
Like, WWE has wanted to hoover up other promotions and remake them in their own image. So everything's WWE. TNA almost always was.
Thinking of Triple H's.
There's knee work for them to do.
You know the global localization map where the planes are just flying everywhere, but it's just one tiny one going to Florida.
Yeah.
Orlando to another bit of Orlando. Oh, that's global localization completed.
Cracked it.
Went to another bit of the same state.
Yeah.
Done it.
God.
See, told you it would work.
See.
And like poor little Dan O'Brien for a bit was like, yeah, they're going to go in with New Japan. Then O'Brien, you need to leave.
No.
Main event time. The NXT Championship on the line. Femi versus Jasper Troy. I'm going to be kind here. I think this was kind of a...
Again, conceptually, I thought they really tried hard with this.
Tale of two matches, this, wasn't it? Yeah, we wanted to see the case of just the two big monsters running into each other, and they gave you it. Like, Femi's walking out, selling the implications. He's all bandaged up, so they've already put an injury on Femi to further, I'm not even going to say level the playing field, to just give Jasper Troy not only the size advantage, but now the strength advantage as well, because Femi's working her as the world champion. Jasper Troy looks more than a monster for being smart enough to take him out and then call his bluff into forcing him not to back out the match. So this is more than just, Jasper Troy's got more than just his size on his side as well. So it's a lot of running into each other, and it's really impressive, and it's really loud, and the small venue makes them look even bigger.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to look at for a bit. Vic Joseph's a bit much, reacting to it all the time.
What do you mean is? Like, this is a revelation.
I found him to be a bit much. I found that the raising of his voice didn't necessarily feel altogether earnest.
No.
I'm honest. But nonetheless, each time they clashed, it was pretty cool. Oba seems to be gradually building an advantage here. But Jasper Troy is able to kind of like slightly escape to the floor, get Oba, grab his legs, slide back in, clothesline Oba out on the floor, and then roll him in. He's got the advantage now on Femi. He grabs Femi and he does one of them like from the video games where you do an Irish whip, but you do a hold in one so that you would like whip them extra hard. And he whips Femi into the turnbuckle and Femi hits the deck. And then they repeat the spot. And you see why. It's because the first time they did it, the middle rope was supposed to come loose. But sure enough, they repeat the spot. And this time Femi targets the middle rope. And the middle rope just falls out. It's easily replaceable. But don't let that stop the fans in the NXT Performance Center having a good time, because you would think the Undertaker's streak has just ended in front of their very eyes.
I know. I know. I know you're not the biggest fan, right? But VOW, Voices of Wrestling flagship podcast, did a bit on this where it's like this artificial, like, streaming reaction has infected crowds where they feel the need And it just creates this, it just totally deepens this idea of WWE just being, people can't sanction it. Certain people can't sanction it. Of like, it just, like, is it so hard to engage with something earnestly? It's a question I often ask myself.
And wait, so this is what takes us to our NXT rolls on, is they're so massive, the ring can't contain. The middle rope has come out. It's not quite a ring explosion, but a middle rope has come out. We come back from the break. They've fixed the middle rope.
Yeah.
So it can contain them.
Yeah,
Probably should have just left it there, but they don't trust the wrestlers enough to work the two ropes.
Probably too many ideas, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. And at this point, it is just kind of exchanges of moves. Troy's got Ober in control, but Ober makes like the big babyface comeback, and he's starting to strike first before Troy gets a chance.
Keep talking.
He's hitting these massive clotheslines. He hits a big suplex. He gets an uppercut, a series of uppercuts in the corner. He's backing Troy up, but Troy manages to push him away and hit a splash. And then he drills Ober with I think it was a spine buster or a big power slam. He gets a decent 2 count off it anyway. They're both kind of now like kind of coming back to the feet at the same time. They're headbutting each other. They're hitting clotheslines at the same time, big boots at the same time. They're equally knackered. They're equally massive. Only one. They're equally massive. That's what we were thinking. Wow, these guys are equally massive. The big boots give Ober Femi a slight advantage. He manages to get the like sort of set up Troy just for the chokeslam. Troy breaks it and then just lobs Ober Femi back into the corner. It's that like sort of magnetic shoulder where they always hit the post. So Troy gets a chokeslam of his own, hits the chokeslam, gets another pretty hot 2 count in the building. He picks Ober up, but Ober manages to counter for the fall from grace. But Ober, once again, like Troy manages once again to counter, so Ober Femi manages to like throw Troy away, sends him into the ropes. At this point, Troy hits a black hole slam, which again looks awesome because they're giant men. You get this big, deep, bassy noise in the ring. Gets another 2 count. The crowd are like buying a potential title shot here because Troy's landed enough stuff on him. However, they go back to the floor. Ober launches Troy towards the guardrail. Wouldn't you believe it, Sidge? He crashes straight through it. The guardrail is not strong enough for that man's giant body.
It doesn't look good, this.
It doesn't. It does not.
It doesn't get destroyed. It like wilts.
Yeah, it does itself.
Yeah.
You were strong. I fell up. You need to tell me I didn't buy him to get better guardrails, Brett.
It looks so. Just looks like a phony faker, but then again, he always was.
The walls are strong in the dungeon. Not that Sean would know. Morty used to come. They go back into the ring, and Ober this time hits the fall from grace. 1, 2, 3. And it's not because the referee's invented a kick out, and everyone in the building goes, "Oh!" Like the air has completely gone out of the balloon. The wrestlers look really confused.
If everything was treated like a shoot, maybe this goddamn business wouldn't be in the goddamn state it is.
So he has to pick him up and do it again, and it's such a fake.
Pick it up and do it again.
Such a phony faker ending to what has otherwise been a kind of all right balls to the wall main event. I don't get what went wrong. I've watched it several times, and I still can't work out who was at fault. Was Jasper Troy supposed to kick out? And is that the first ever kick out from the fall from grace? It might be, I don't know. But if not the first, there's nothing else but a kick out. He's rolled a shoulder per what the referee said. So that finish is gone.
Yeah.
Jasper Troy's had the kick out. But he was beat. He didn't kick out. And it killed their vibe.
Look,
that's how I was showing off the air with a dead vibe.
I try to be consistent, and I try and be very, very open with my preferences. I've been on a big thing the last probably 2 years of wrestling stinks. The format of US TV cable wrestling is stinky, ran by them, contrived. You know, I wish there was a radical overhaul. If I see something in a match, in a storyline, or that just feels like a new idea, or it's got loads of ideas. I just love not a new idea, but a loving explosion of ideas. Mm-hmm. I've really, even if the execution isn't amazing or perfect, I just really take kindly to something that's got a lot of ideas and some thought behind it. How to make this as good as we can, you know? And I thought they, like, from beginning to end of the show, had a really strong, creative night insofar as this match and how it was built.
He's just won the talent contest, Jasper Troy.
Yeah.
And it's Ober Femi.
It feels bold. They've done a good job of protecting Ober Femi, of creating a sense of parity between the two men. They've tried to put on this spectacle. Unfortunately, like the props wilted. the idea of like was half in, half out with the non-ring collapse or a break in a little bit. If you're Brett watching this, you probably think, look how easy that was. What was the name of the ref? He had a funny name.
Which one?
The ref in charge of the Rockers Hard Foundation. You might have guessed I'm working on something Brett and Sean related. Anyway, he's like, we'll just fix the rope. The match is being taped. We can edit it and post. Which rope do I tie again, boys? Like, just like the Brett's like, what are you doing?
The broken one, Dominic. You can't fix a fixed rope. Even Rodham Bottom can tell you that.
So it just, execution-wise wasn't there. And I'll tell you now, this Troy fella, like, unless you're the image of Paul Heyman, the image of Bam Bam Bigelow made up in Paul Heyman's head. You never have that aura to begin with unless you're Brock, but he's different. You can develop it. I don't know. He feels like he's got that project packaged thing going on.
Funny you mentioned Paul Heyman, because with the gear as well, he's like kind of a modern version of 9-1-2-1, isn't he? Like, Paul Heyman made that heel character. Just a big monster, not much.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't really feel it from him, but this was a noble failure. A really noble failure, this. And it was fun in parts.
I would agree. There were less noble failures littered elsewhere on this show. And I look forward to Will Bourne telling us why we were wrong about it when
he's not going to watch it
next week. Well, ask him what he thought of it. Ask him his thoughts on Twitter.
It's a phony faker. It's the biggest gimmick in wrestling.
Because we've given you all of ours and the thoughts of several wrestling legends along the way. What a ride it's been. If you want to get on rides similar to this, you can subscribe to the What Culture Wrestling podcast channel, where you can also find the preview of yet another 4-hour Dynamite, the Summer Blockbuster.
Yes.
It's available now. We'll be back tomorrow with a review of that. And if you want to follow along with us on Twitter, you can do so at WhatCulture WWE, where you can find Michael Sidgwick at
M. Sidgwick.
Where you can find our brilliant find me at Michael Hamflett, I'll forget myself, our brilliant producer Adam Nicholas at
It's Adam Nicholas.
And until next time, we will see you soon.